Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is a video I'm super excited about because we're going to be going over my garden plan for 2023. I have had a garden for the last 2 years, and the first year it was really small. I think it was literally like a 4 by 10 type area maybe, and I just did tomatoes and maybe flowers. And then last year I increased that it was like 10 by 20, 10 by 25 ish, and did the things that I need for salsa, some flowers, corn, and that was about it. And then this year I've decided I've gone a little bit crazy because I am making my garden almost 5 times bigger than it was last year. And I bought a tiller. So like last year weed maintenance, like by the end of summer, like it got me, but I bought a tiller. It's like a small little electric one that I think I can go, like I'm planning to go like in between my garden rows. But anyways, I'm planning on having my garden be 15 feet by 65 feet. I will show you here. It's a super crappy day outside. I was really trying to make it a sunny day when I did this video, but we haven't had one of those in a while, and I really want to get this video up. So sorry it's so crummy out, but I will show you a video here of like current garden size and what it's going to be. So this is 10 by 20. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go all the way to the end of this fence, and I'm going to leave, so these are peonies, I'm going to leave just enough to mow one strip. So it'll be like here over, and then, gosh, I really wish it was so nice out. I was trying to wait for a beautiful day to come out and show you guys. But like all of this will be garden. Eventually, like this one strip that I'm leaving to mow, I would like to do like a path, because long-term plan is back here we're gonna make this like a fire pit sitting area off the back of the pool. So that's long-term goals. You can see our lovely siding that came off during a storm a few weeks ago, so we have to get that fixed. But I'm going to be coming off of this, so like right here all the way to where it actually starts, and then I'm coming over to where you see this divot right here. We're gonna stay just inside that divot, and then over, oh, come on, focus, and then like over here. So it's going to be, it's like almost 5 times larger than, oh hi chickies, hi ladies, you're just coming to see what I'm doing. But it's gonna be like 5 times bigger than what it was last year, and I am super excited, but also partially think I'm kind of crazy. So we'll see how it goes. So I might be a little bit crazy, but I'm very excited. There's actually a family friend of ours that comes and tills it for me. So like I'm not gonna have to use my little tiller to like get up the sod and stuff. He'll come do the initial one. Like he has a tractor that it takes him like 10 minutes, and he'll do the whole thing for me, and then I'll just have to use the tiller for maintenance. But I'm really excited. So it's going to be huge. I plan on actually growing more than just, like, my main goal for my garden the last 2 years was I make salsa every year, and I basically wanted to grow as many of the ingredients for salsa as I could. Now this year, now that I have spent the last year realizing how much I love like preserving food and like making different things, I plan on doing a lot more. And I actually have done super official garden planning things. I also started seeds this year. I've never done that before. I didn't start very many. I did tomatoes, peppers, and herbs. And I am about to plant cucumbers and such, but I'm also a little late to the game. I kind of lost track of time with sickness and stuff going through our house. So I'm still going to plant them, but there is potentially going to be, I might buy some larger plants if they don't do that great, because I am a little late to the game. I also have planted radishes, potatoes, and carrots outside in like these garden bags. I've never used the garden bags before either. Just kind of testing them out mainly because these things needed to be in the ground already, and I didn't want to put anything in my actual garden until it was already tilled up because I didn't want there to be sections that he couldn't go through when he comes and tills it for us. So I got a lot going on right now, but right now we are going to go over my garden plan, and I am so excited. So I was going to use like on the Farmer's Almanac website, they have like a program that you can do like a garden planner, and basically you tell it what size your garden is. You can do a 7-day free trial, and I tried it for like, I'm not gonna lie, I tried it for like 15 minutes and it's just not my jam. Like, I'm a pen and paper, like I wanted to use the highlighters. But if you like click on the plant, it will automatically put like this spacing that you need, like it puts like a bubble around it. So that could be super helpful, like if you want to get into that. But like I said, I was a pen and paper, and also like I made this, but this is the first time I've ever actually had a plan going into planting my garden. And so we will see how I actually do using it. So there's like a 7-day free trial for the almanac thing. I think it would be really good and useful. I was not going to pay for it because I need to make sure that I'm going to like use it, I guess. But two, part of me thinks that that might be better for like raised garden beds because I'm just doing rows, and so I don't really need, I don't know. I guess it wasn't for me. If you like it, great, but you do have to pay for it after the 7-day free trial. It is really nice because it will tell you like planting and picking dates, which would be really nice because I'm gonna have to keep track of that separately and on my own, which I just kind of go by like how it looks, I guess. But the main thing that I use to do this, I just use Excel. I just made borders in Excel, and I did a 15 by 65 square, and that's how I did it. So it's not super overcomplicated. And then I actually found like a picture on Pinterest, like I can put it right here. I didn't 100% go by this, but this is like, it explains the spacing for different vegetables. I know for a fact, based on like my previous gardens, that some of this spacing would be really, really close for how I like my garden to look. I obviously, like when the weeds get away from me, it gets kind of messy, but I try really hard to not have my plants be like super on top of each other. So I lean more towards maximum spacing recommendations as opposed to minimum spacing recommendations. Obviously that, like, your goal for your garden is going to determine that, because like if you're trying to produce enough food for your family for like a whole year, you're obviously going to want to get more plants in less space. Like, I'm not there yet. I have a feeling that like eventually that will be a goal, but this year it's just to grow more than the ingredients for salsa is kind of my goal. I'm still in my like testing what I can and can't grow phase, seeing what works and whatnot. And I don't know that you ever like technically leave that stage, but there's 80% of the stuff on my garden plan I have never grown before in my life. So let's get right into it. So the very first one that I did, I had to do this 3 times to get the spacing right. The very first one that I did, I actually went 100% off of the recommendations on that picture on Pinterest. And you can see like I put down here, like I could have one plant per foot. Corn, you can have 4 per foot. And that's when I did all of this. And that's when I realized that that seemed not a lot of room for some of these things. So I am also trying to start like an asparagus patch and a rhubarb patch, and that stuff is perennial. And so I went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to plant that in my main garden, or if I wanted to do it somewhere else, or if I wanted to do like raised beds. And I've actually decided that I am going to do it in my main garden. I am going to do it on a specific end, and I am going to somehow mark it out. I don't know if I'm going to use like bricks or I don't know exactly, maybe just put a board across, I don't know, so that it doesn't accidentally get tilled next spring. But I am going to do some perennial stuff. I'm also going to do try to do some herbs, because I know we have mint that grows like in front of our barn, and it just like we let it do its thing. It goes crazy. There's tons of it. And so I'm not doing mint in my garden, but the other perennial herbs that we can do, basically where we live, all of the herbs that I want to grow are perennials except for basil. And so that'll kind of explain why I did what I did. But the other thing that I did while doing this is I also Googled companion plants, and that is where like there are certain plants that grow really well together. So like tomatoes grow really well next to basil. And so I kind of went off of those recommendations as much as I could. And that's another reason that it took me a couple times to get it right. So this first one that I did, basically when I did this one, I went on that recommended the Pinterest recommended sheet, and then I also realized that the way that I did it, my perennial stuff would end up in the middle of my garden, and I realized that was going to be a bad idea. So that's why I didn't do the first one. This second one, I obviously was trying to adjust, and I realized that when I was done, I didn't start on one end. I started on what I knew I wanted to be on the left-hand side and what I knew I wanted to be on the right-hand side, and I worked my way in the middle, and I realized that I had extra space. So after deciding whether or not I wanted the extra space to be extra space between my rows or if I wanted to plant more things, we ended up with the final product, which I will show on the screen now. So we're just going to go through this together. So over on the left-hand side, I have flowers. Now, every year that I've had my garden, I've put zinnias on the end of my garden. My mom's best friend loves zinnias, and as for as long as I can remember, she has always grown. I mean, she plants so many packets of zinnia seeds every single year. Like that's actually like the flowers that I did at my wedding were zinnias that were grown by her. I absolutely love zinnias. They're like wild flowery looking. They all look different. They have some that are like speckled with like, it almost looks like you splashed them with paint. Like I love zinnias. I think I love zinnias because like my mom and my mom's best friend love zinnias so much. So she grows zinnias, so I grow zinnias as well. So I do have 2 rows this year. I've only ever done one. I do 2 rows of zinnias, but they are right next to each other. Like I don't leave a gap in between them. This year I'm actually going to do a row of sunflowers. So it's actually the sunflower seeds that are in the bird seed that my husband buys to put in our bird feeders. They're like short, like because they've fallen down and they grow sporadically on our property, and I love sunflowers. So if there's ever one that just decides to shoot up somewhere, I don't care if it's the most random place ever, I let it go because I absolutely love sunflowers. But I like these specifically because they're only like 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet high, but they're big. And like they're not like the huge like 10-12 inch ones, like, but they're probably, I don't know, probably 4 to 6 inches, and I just think they're a really cute size. Like they're great for cutting and bringing inside and putting in a vase or something. So I actually harvested some of the seeds from those last year, and I'm going to plant a row of those sunflowers in my garden. So that's what that row is. The next one that I'm going to do is I do Roma tomatoes. Roma tomatoes are what work best for me for salsa. They're more meaty than juicy, and that works really well for a salsa. Then after that, I'm going to do half a row, and I say half a row because my tiller is 16 inches, so leaving 1 row blank in between the Roma tomatoes and the beefsteak tomatoes is going to be a little bit smaller than what my tiller is. So I booked 2 feet because each one of these blocks is a foot. I blocked 2 feet for the beef tomatoes on half of a row, but I plan on only doing like one plant for that 2 feet width. So I'll probably be able to get 2 or 3 plants in half of a row. That's kind of what I'm estimating. But I just like those because I love tomato sandwiches, and my father-in-law really likes beefsteak tomatoes. So those are just for eating. I don't can them. They're usually too juicy, and honestly they usually don't stick around long enough for me to need to can them. And then the other half of that row is actually going to be cherry tomatoes. Last year I planted a yellow cherry tomato and I absolutely loved them. They were delicious, and I had one plant and it produced so many tomatoes. It was fantastic. We ate them like on salads. I just like snack on cherry tomatoes because I love them. And so like we had enough for that, and I ended up I test canned. I only did 3 jars because I wanted to make sure that they would do, but I canned them whole, and I put them in like pasta sauces. And they're really good. So I plan on doing that again, but I want to plant like 3 plants instead of one, so that way I have more that I can can. Then I'm going to do 1 row of basil. Now I planted a whole bunch of basil and they're all fairly small. So there's actually a greenhouse like 1 row down from us that he sells a lot of herbs and vegetables, and it, like, I say it's a beautiful greenhouse. There's a lot of variety at this greenhouse, but like it's kind of a hodgepodge if you actually go to it. Like, I know there are actually people who don't go to it because it's not the most organized, but they have great, really good prices, and I think the quality is pretty good in my experience. So if my basils, because they're not looking super great, but if they don't thrive, I will buy some there. I want a whole row because I want to do like, I use a lot of basil, like in, like, I make pastas a lot, like, and usually I make, ooh, sorry guys, and usually I make the pasta sauce, and so I throw basil in a lot, and then I also make like there's like it's called the green goddess salad that it went viral on TikTok like a year or two ago. I actually make that a lot, and that takes quite a bit of basil in it as well. So I use basil a lot, but then I also want to make like basil salt and dry some and stuff. So a whole row will be perfect. And like I said, it's the only one that is not a perennial, so that is one of the reasons I planted it on this side of my garden. The other one is that it's a really good companion plant for tomatoes. The next row is actually just gray flowers. I am planning on doing marigolds there or some other type of flower. One, because I had a few extra rows when I was doing the spacing, and two, because I just think it's really pretty to have flowers sporadically throughout your garden. I don't know if I'll do more than marigolds. I know that I want some just because marigolds are actually good to keep some critters out of your garden, but I might look to see if there's anything like edible type flowers that I could plant there. I don't know, so we'll see. The next row is, I'm going to do a whole row of jalapenos. Again, I highlighted 2 rows, but I plan on only doing 1 plant in that 2 rows, but I'm gonna do them all the way down. Last year I had 3 jalapeno plants, and wasn't quite enough for how much I would like to can. I did can quite a few jars last year, but I have been going through them really quickly because they are actually really good, which kind of stinks because I'm really bad at saving the recipes and I have no idea whose jalapeno canning recipe I used, and so I'm hoping that I can I'm hoping I can find it because they're really, really good, and I want to make a whole bunch of them, but I've used a lot of what I can last year, so I would like to make more. The goal is to have like enough for me, and then enough that like if my friends and family want some, I can share. But we also just use a lot of jalapenos. I use it for salsa, and then we do jalapeno poppers a lot. The next row, I am doing like 3/4 of a row of banana peppers. Again, I only had one. Did I have 1 or 2? Maybe 1 or maybe 2 plants last year. I think I only did 1 though because there's banana peppers in my salsa recipe. But then also my grandpa used to make these like mustard banana peppers, and I have the recipe, and unfortunately he passed away last year, and so I would really like to figure out how to make those just because it'll always remind me of him, and they're delicious. So the thing is, people have tried to follow this recipe before, and like I think that he just wrote stuff down. Like he like did it majorly by like just throw this in. So I don't know, it might take me a little while to perfect it, but I'm actually planning more banana peppers because I would like to try to make some of his peppers. And then on the end, I'm just planning on doing like 1 like mini bell pepper plant. The only thing I really used those for last year was for like salads, and I sometimes snack on them, but I didn't snack on them as much as I thought I would, so I'm only doing 1 plant of that. And then the next row is something that I'm actually not sure that I'm going to plant, and that is celery. Now, I love celery. I actually really like to make homemade green juice, and So celery is great for that because that's like the bulk of the juice that I use in my green juice. And I actually bought celery seeds and I did not plant them in time. So depending on whether or not I can actually find celery plants already planted will determine whether or not I actually plant them in my garden. I know that I could start the seeds, but it's not the right time. Like I'm like over a month late at this point. I've also considered buying celery from the store because like obviously you can grow celery from the bottom of the stalk. And so I might try doing that. I actually have some that I'm going to try to grow roots on. And I don't know if like since it's not growing from a seed, if the fact that I'm late, I don't know how that's gonna work. So that's probably gonna be like a trial run in my garden this year just to see if they will actually grow outside from kitchen scraps. We'll see. I actually have double rows here. Just again, like this is where I stopped. Like this was my middle because I started from both ends and worked my way in. So that's why there's 2 rows there. I don't know what's gonna happen there. The next one is I'm going to do onions and then also green onion. Now I have green onion started in my kitchen from green onion that I bought at the store. I am going to try to plant some of that outside and see what happens. I might find some because I think that that's usually something that's fairly easy to find like at nurseries and greenhouses around me. So I would like to do onion and green onion. Another thing that I want to do in this area is I really want to do garlic, but you don't plant that until the fall. So this section right here with like the onions and this section that I'm talking about like right now is going to be like my rotating. Like this is all the stuff with like the shorter growing rates. And so that's what we're about to get into now. So then again, I have another row of flowers, which will probably be marigolds. And then the next row is carrots. Again, really short growing period. I know I have some in the bag, but I want to do a whole row in my garden. And then radishes and beets as well. Like as soon as he tills my garden, which will be in like the next week, as soon as it dries up, he's coming to till my garden. I'm going to get these seeds in the ground and be able to do that. I've done radishes. I've started radishes in May before and they turned out fine. You can also like replant them after you harvest them, plant them later, and then you can do like a second fall harvest. That's kind of my plan for this section is the carrots, radishes, and beets will just kind of be like an ongoing thing. Like I will plant some and then I'll wait a little while, plant some, and then I'll have a continuous longer harvesting period. After those 3, I'm going to do cucumbers. Now last year I did pickle cucumbers and that was the only one. I had 1 plant. And I don't know that I'm going to do the same type of cucumbers. I really want to try to make pickles, but I also just want to eat cucumbers, and the pickled cucumbers, like by the time they got big enough around, because you obviously were supposed to pick them before they got larger, the flavor wasn't super there and the skin got kind of tough. So I don't know, since I'm doing a whole row, I might do like 1 pickle because I'm not going to make a ton of pickles. I just want to try it. I've never made pickles before, but I don't want to do a ton. I mostly want them for regular cucumbers for, again, juicing and salads. That's kind of the plan. The next row, again, is one that I'm not 100% sure that I'm actually going to do, and that is half a row of lettuce and half a row of spinach. I would absolutely love to have this. I actually have a friend who gave me some greens out of her garden last year, and they were absolutely delicious. But again, this is just like, it depends on if I like where I find them and how much they are, if I will do that. I really would like to, but we will see because I didn't start those. I actually think that potentially I could start them now. I'll have to look, but I plan on buying plants already grown for those, as well as the cucumbers. The next row is going to be green beans. Now I'm doing a whole row of bush green beans. I really eventually would like to do like the trellis for my green beans. I just don't think that that's going to happen this year. So I am just going to do a regular row of bush green beans. And that is the one thing that my husband said he will not help me pick out of my garden. Like it's not that he like doesn't help with the garden, but like green beans specifically, he did a lot as a child and he said that he hates it. So everything else he said he will help with, but the green beans apparently is asking too much, which I think is hilarious. Green beans again is something I've never grown before, and I will be buying those at the nursery. We will see. The next rows I'm going to do, I have highlighted 3 rows. I'm going to do at least 2 rows of corn, if not 3. I did corn last year and I completely butchered the spacing and it was absolutely terrible. The corn was good, but we only got like one good like meal out of the corn that I grew because we had to pull most of it out because I sucked at the spacing. And then also I wasn't 100% sure when to harvest it, and I harvested it a little bit too late. So wasn't super great, but I would like to try again. I would really like to get enough that I could freeze corn, because when I was growing up, my mom would freeze corn and she would put it in like a sugar brine, and like I just remember how much I loved when she would get out the frozen corn. And so I would like to try to make something like that this year. Also, going back to the green beans, I want to make like a crap ton of canned green beans. And then also, again, the same family friend that does the zinnias and tills my garden, they have a recipe for dilly beans and I absolutely love them. And so I am going to can regular green beans, and also I would like to get the recipe for the dilly beans and make some of my own, because I ate all of the ones that they gave me from last year like super quick. So I would like to make some of my own. But anyways, after the corn, I have quite a bit of space blocked off for squash. I would like to do one. I am honestly only planning on doing one plant of each one. I had I've never done zucchini, but I had a butternut squash plant 2 years ago, and we got more than enough from one plant. I'm not the like store it all year so that you can eat it like all winter. Like that's not my jam. Like I love when it's in season and eating it then. I don't really have a good way to store it long term at the moment. So we're just doing one plant of each. I might do 2 zucchini just because I love zucchini, but I also have a friend who always ends up giving like, well, like country neighbors always are dropping off zucchini. So I've never had to grow it before, but last year I ate a lot more of it than I normally do. So I want to try one plant of my own. So I'll probably just do one. I'm going to do summer squash. I really like to do summer squash and zucchini together, dice it up, put it like you grill it. Super good. So I left quite a bit of room for those. Again, I am going to do a row of flowers. I mainly did the row of flowers there because right now that's going to be my separation of perennials and annuals. Now, obviously these flowers are annuals, so I'm going to have to do something more permanent, but that's what I came up with in this initial plan, is to do flowers until I can figure it out, because the stuff that I'm getting, I am going to get bare root stuff that is just going to be under the ground for a little while. And so not the herbs obviously, but so I'm doing the flowers, and then I'm going to do, I have quite a bit, I have 4 rows blocked off almost all the way across for herbs. Now that's going to be kind of messy. Like in my head I'm envisioning like quite a bit of like clumps, like just kind of all over. Like that's not going to be perfect rows. Like since that is perennial, I am going to have a little bit of fun with that and kind of make it pretty-ish. And then the other half is going to be, I'm just going to do one rhubarb cluster, and then on the end I am going to plant asparagus. And that is something that when you plant it, like I'll plant it this year, I won't be able to actually harvest it for 3 years. And so that's why I really want to get it in the ground this year, because then it's, you know, one less summer that I have to wait. I wasn't originally planning on planting it this year, but I didn't realize that you had to wait so many years to actually get some. So once I realized that, I snuck it in on the end of my garden plan. So I know that this was a really long, but I'm just super excited about my garden this year. It's, you know, it's just really become a love of mine to grow things. And, you know, like I love indoor plants. Like they make me happy when I can't be outside, but once I can be outside, like I just love being out there. I love preserving food. Like there's something so satisfying about seeing my shelf of all the food that like I've grown and then preserved. And like even if I don't grow it, just preserving it, knowing how to do that is just really satisfying to me. So I'm just really excited because this is really the first year that I'm gonna take it super seriously. Now, obviously, like I'm not gonna be like upset if certain things don't work out, but I am going to, I actually did take the time to make a plan instead of just being like, okay, well, it's the middle of May. Let's go to the nursery and buy 6 tomato plants and throw them in the ground because that's kind of what I've done in the past. So, I I am really excited. I'm excited to see how much I get from my garden. I'm excited to see what actually works out and what doesn't. I'm honestly really excited to see like how far off the actual is versus what I have on this paper because I have a feeling it's going to end up different. But anyways, super excited. Thanks for sticking around if you're still here. I know this is a long one. Let me know what you guys are planning on doing in the comments. I'd love to chat with you guys and connect down there. And thank you so much for watching. I will keep you posted as like I get things in the ground and start harvesting things. Like I plan on sharing that stuff this year. So would love if you guys would stick around, come back for that when I have it. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.